Welcome back, everyone. What I do now is I need you to think about if you would want to live in a Southeast Asian city, similar to one we researched yesterday on Google Earth or Google Maps. Um, you have several different opinions on this. You may have liked some of the cities, but not others, certain parts. Maybe you'd want to travel there, but not live there. There's a lot of different ideas you could have had. For the next few days, we're going to be comparing two major cities, the two biggest cities in Southeast Asia. That is New Delhi, India, and Jakarta, Indonesia. They're both the capitals of their countries. They're both major cities. Our goal is to try and figure out which one is the best to live in. Which one does the best job of, getting resources for their people and have the best quality of life for their people. That's what you're trying to determine over the next couple days. Like I said, these are both absolutely huge cities. They're both over 30 million people, so roughly 10 times the size of Denver. To give you some comparison, if you added up all these states in red, all the population, that'd be roughly equal to one of these cities. That's how insanely huge they are. They're just massive cities. And these are the numbers we know of. It's really hard to count because there's going to be a lot of poverty and slums where you're counting, hard to count people, who's there and who's not, but roughly 32, 33 million people. We'll start with talking about New Delhi, India. We'll watch a video in class so we can get a sense of what the city looks like. It is the capital of India, about 33 million people. It is mostly developed. Most of the areas that the city and the government has officially built is usually high quality, developed, modern technology, schools, all that stuff. It does have a pretty strong education system. Right? They put that as one of their top goals is education from a young age through college. Right? So they have a very strongly developed education system. They have two major industries, electronics and clothing. So they produce a lot of electronics. They service a lot of electronics, so customer service related stuff, but also production of clothing. Unfortunately, outside of those developed areas, there's a lot of poverty and slums where people don't have access to a lot of these great things, who are really struggling like $1 or $2 a day poverty. And there's lots of pollution, a lot of water pollution and air pollution going on in New Delhi. Don't have the best healthcare system. Don't have the best public safety records. It can be a dangerous city, and it's not always the healthiest. Here's some pictures. This is the Lotus Theater because it looks kind of like a flower. And it's a very old city. It's very populated. Definitely overcrowded. And like I said, there's a lot of poverty as well. These are the slums of New Delhi. Here's an example of some of that air pollution. You can see it. Next, we got Jakarta, which is in Indonesia. We'll watch a video about Jakarta as well. This is the capital of Indonesia for now. It will not be the capital in the future. We'll get to that in a second. That's 32.5 million people, so basically the same. It is mostly developed. Most areas are highly developed with technology, good buildings, good water, all that. Its big industries around manufacturing, so production, factories, things like that, and the refinement of oil. There's a lot of oil in Indonesia. So that's where a lot of their wealth comes from. Jakarta does not have a great healthcare education system. The average person is not getting good education. They don't have a lot of good colleges. That is not one of the focuses of the city. It also has a lot of pollution. Air, water pollution is a big problem in Jakarta. The biggest problem for the city is around water. They don't have good water for most of their people. And the weird thing is their city is sinking. Every year it decreases a little bit further because the soil, underneath the soil, like the bedrock, is not a good foundation for a major city. And you have all these people, all these buildings, it gets too heavy and it starts to sink into the ground, which is why they need to move their capital. They're going to try to rebuild a new city somewhere else. This is going to take decades. But the idea is that Jakarta is eventually going to be impossible for people to live. So they're going to have to get them all out. Here's some pictures of Jakarta. You can see it's a pretty awesome city, pretty nice and developed. Um, you go to certain areas, maybe it's not as developed. And there's a lot of poverty and struggling people in some areas. That's spatial inequality. And here's just sort of an image explaining, you build all this stuff. The soil is not very strong or good. It's got a lot of groundwater under it. Um, and it slowly starts to sink. Now they're building up the soil around it to keep the ocean out, but sea levels rise. Um, there's just the risk of flood gets worse and worse, that they've decided to move their capital. So what we're going to do today is you are going to follow these links to learn about, look at statistics of different things going on in these two cities. I'll show you one real quick. This compares cost of living between Delhi and Jakarta. And here you can see like the cost of going to get a meal, the cost of buying water, milk. You scroll down, transportation, utilities, sports, childcare, rent, average income. This is how much they make per month. So you can see in US dollars about how much this is. But then we also have links to show us about what crime looks like. And different things about crime, we can see their scores. So your goal today is to go through these links and try to evaluate, judge which one do you think is better. So on something like this, like crime, you have to say which one do you think does better on crime, and then you need to provide evidence. You need to call out specifically, you know, most people in Jakarta are not worried about stuff being stolen or being attacked compared to New Delhi, where their crime is increasing. So you're going to cite evidence directly from one of these stats. Tomorrow, we're going to work on trying to judge and explain which one we think is best.